けど久しぶりにバイブス上げてこう嬉しそうできる追加
Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the fourth year of Castaway anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels, in astonishment at you saying 4 years. Wait, what?
Well, not 4 full years. It'll become 4 full years in, I think, late August. Right now we're at a year.
We did start in 2021. That sounds like it's been too long.
Yeah.
But that is true.
Well, I guess in that case it'll become 3 full years, because we on the YouTube I've organized some of the playlist. I've made a few playlists by years, where there's the year of 2021, which has the 3 episodes in it only, 2022, and then 2023.
Crazy how much our upload schedule has changed since those days.
Yeah, with that 2022 is when we tried to do 1 episode a week, and we did it for at least a year, which is very commendable. But now we are going to tone it down in the new year with bi-weekly episodes.
Yeah, so with that out of the way, we're talking about Spy Family today.
Yeah, Spy Family Season 2. As everyone knows, historically, Spy Family only does the only good numbers on the podcast. Nothing else even comes close. Everyone's dying to hear our thoughts on Spy Family specifically.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, it's a show that I have been standing since the beginning. Neon, although likes it, generally not as much as me, so I guess we can see what happens this podcast. Has he come around on it and acknowledges it as the masterpiece of all time? Or have I turned my back on the Spy Family and want to murder the show like Yor does people on that boat? Hey, will that be the case?
And if you want to find out, then go ahead and like the video and subscribe, viewer.
Yeah, just kind of, that was pretty shoehorned for a subscribe message, but you know what, we had to get to it.
We were already like
eventually.
2 minutes in. I had to make sure we jammed it in there somewhere.
It's now or
we have
never.
to remind them, especially if they're on mobile. When the YouTube app does that thing now, if you say subscribe very clearly, then it like lights up.
Oh yeah, I did see about that. Yeah, I guess I can just say subscribe over and over again and it'll light up. Subscribe. Hey, like there we go. It did again.
I think it only happens like 3 times a video at most.
Damn it.
Yeah, you can't.
Well,
spam
I guess
it.
we've used up all our subscribe light ups already.
Oh well. At the very beginning, at the very end is when it matters most. More so the beginning.
Sorry I went quiet. I had to let my cat into the room. You're gonna want to cut that out.
It is very important that the cat weighs in on Spy Family Season 2.
She was being annoying and meowing outside the door.
And it'll be 5 minutes before she gets let out again.
It'll be less than that. She's been in and out literally before we even set up. Yeah, so when did the second part of Season 1 end? Because I know we covered it as like the second episode of 2023 last year. Yeah, it ended in winter of last year, so it began airing literally the same season, I'm pretty sure. And so it's been 1 year, which is a little scary for the animators' health, both mental and physical, that this entire season took a year. That's not normal.
It looks decent, all things considered. I never thought
it looks. I'm not saying
outside
it
of the typical
bad.
CG crowd shots, it never looked bad.
Yeah, that's not my point. Because Jujutsu Kaisen looks great, but we all know that the animators are dying by the just on the reg of overwork.
Mappa weren't able to get their hands on this one. They got the joint effort between Wit and CloverWorks still going on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can be optimistic, but I'm also not. I don't know. I'm a little cynical about what the production situation might be for this show.
It's okay. 30 animators did not get worked to the bone this time. Only like 15 animators.
I mean, that's just
maybe next time we
Mappa.
can aim for a solid 10.
Also, by the way, my cat already wants out again. I just want you to know that.
We already bored the cat, so the human audience has surely clicked off too.
It's whatever. We can trim it down. Just trim out the cat bits, or maybe leave them in because they're funny. Anyway, want to talk about Yor?
Oh yeah, our biggest criticism from last season is that Lloyd and Anya were getting all the attention in the Spy X Family story, whereas Yor, the third main character, the protagonist of the one of the protagonists rather, did not get as much a focus on her cool assassination life. And it's like, well, what's the deal? And now our criticisms and prayers have been answered in season 2. We got a whole ass arc dedicated to Yor and her assassination job. How did you feel about it?
So, throughout the years of Spy Family, right? I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that of the 3, Yor was easily the most boring. It wasn't so much of a deal in the first core of season 1, because I just assumed, hey, we'll get it in the second core. Like 12 episodes without Yor doing assassin work. Big deal. There was a lot to set up that season. I'm sure they'll get around to it in the next core. They did not get around to it in the next core, and that ended up making Yor a really dull character. Not maybe in the grand scheme of anime, because she's still fun, no matter what she's doing. But in the context of the show, yeah, like Fiona was more interesting than her in that specific core. Which, in this core, Fiona gets literally maybe a third of an episode. Yeah, like barely anything.
Which is a goddamn travesty.
I thought she was going to be one of the main characters, because that seemed like what she was set up as. She was in the ED in a prominent role in that season.
She's a Yuri.
She's just, yeah, she just kind of got cast aside. Though to be fair, what she got cast aside for was in fact the Yor Assassin arc, and I'm just gonna say it. The Yor Assassin arc is not only the best part of this season, but one of the best parts of the show. Just the whole thing.
If I can be honest, I think I enjoyed the tennis arc more.
The tennis arc is hilarious, don't get me wrong. But I think the Yor Assassin arc is easily one of the best parts of the show. I don't think this season hits quite as hard as the first core of season 1, but I think it easily outclasses the second core just because I think it's paced better overall, and more of it feels like it has a point. The point being the Yor Assassin stuff.
If we're comparing the first 3, like the first 2 cores as of season 1 as like their own little separate 12 to 13 episode mini seasons, and then comparing them individually against season 2. I think I enjoyed season 2 the least out of those 3. I still liked it.
Oh, damn.
But I feel like we've made, okay, let's lay out the grand plan here. The criticism, the big thing out of the way. We've got Yor finally got some attention. Great, awesome. Now, let's take a look at how much progress we've made on Operation Strix. Oh, wait. Oh, silly me. Nothing is written here, because we made 0 progress.
And that's the big problem with this season. That, in my opinion, is the single biggest flaw with Spy Family right now.
Not even a step. Not even, like, one... She didn't have to get a Stella. But, like, not even one noteworthy step of, oh, okay, maybe Anya learned a crucial important skill in school that can like help her in her studies or something, or she like starts an extracurricular activity that can lead towards a Stella, or even like a Lloyd, like at the end of season 1 got to talk with Desmond a little bit, which allowed him to further the plan in some way. Not a shred of progress has been made, and that is concerning.
See, I knew that going into this because one of my friends they had caught up with the manga and said, yeah, this shit boring AF. They haven't made any progress on Operation Strix. Anya got no Stella. It's truly a shame. And I I guess I was pleasantly surprised that Yor got the assassin arc, because my big fear going into the season was that that it was just going to be like the worst parts of the second core of season 1, where it's just slice of life, 4 episodes on end, and then even the parts where it looks like they're making progress, it turns out useless by the end as well. And so really, like the second core of season 2 began as plot development, or I guess what felt important. It was a mission to help with what Lloyd is trying to accomplish. Then the entire middle stretch, even the tennis part, although fun, was pointless to the overall goal. And then we get some stuff at the end to sort of warm you back up to the show. Right in the nick of time for season 2 to, what I feared, do the exact same thing. And it is kind of like that in the sense that the overall plot progression has stagnated. And that is frustrating to me. Like we said in the last podcast, that what we thought would be just a good way to pace out the show, have Anya get a Stella every 12 episodes. I don't think that's an unreasonable demand of this show, because that's the main collectible. 12 episodes is plenty of time. That's a lot of time.
How
for
many
her
did
to
she
get a
need
Stella.
again in order to become an Imperial Scholar?
I forgot, because we haven't been getting them.
Exactly.
I don't know, like 8, 9, something like that.
I'm losing a grasp of the stakes. I've already forgotten how many she has. I think she has like...
She has one.
I know she got one.
She only has one Stella.
Okay, because I know she had one from saving that woman's life. But I forget, like, I think she has like one Tornatress bolt, right?
Yeah, the Tornatress bolt was on her first day of school, and then she balanced it out with a Stella. I'm pretty sure how it went.
I could have sworn she had gotten a second one along the way, but maybe I'm mistaken. We're near an episode 40 with this second season, and I'm sure, no doubt, because this thing is a big hit in Japan and over here. Season 3 is probably being worked on as we speak. No official announcement, but between a 2-core season 1, season 2 that just wrapped up, and the Code White movie that just came out in Japan and is gonna come out over here in like a couple months, I think.
And I will absolutely be watching it.
Yeah, that is going to be a podcast, so subscribe for that.
Yeah. And I mean, the Code White movie doesn't seem like it's going to be canon. At least I don't think
it's not, but it looks like it'll be a fun time either way. I enjoy these characters, and I like looking at watching these characters just go about their business because it's a lot of fun. I would just like, if you went through all the trouble to set up this narrative, I would very much like to see some progress being made towards it for the payoff.
Well, yeah, and that's the point I was getting to with the Code White movie, where even that movie, by the nature of it not being canon, can't have her get a Stella. And so it's like, how long are we gonna have to wait? And I like that Yor is getting assassin work, but I do have to say, she doesn't have much of a stake at all in the main narrative still. Like, she has a stake in her own narrative, in her own character arc. And that is all extremely compelling. One of my favorite things in the show so far. Very much carried the season. But for her to, when she makes progress, Lloyd, by definition, is not making progress. And that's, I guess, the main issue with this season. Whereas, if Anya's making progress, it can be to either of their missions. Which is why Anya is the true protagonist of Spy Family. But she won't make progress in Operation Strix either. So, when is that gonna happen? How long am I gonna have to wait? How many seasons before she gets another Stella? And my bigger fear is she just going to get all the Stellas within the same season, or a whole bunch of them all at once to completely wreck the pacing?
Unsatisfying.
That would be awful. Because
what this show needs is to emphasize the passage of time, because Anya's supposed to be 4 years old, right?
Yeah, something like that. I know she's a year younger than her classmates.
Yeah, so what they should do is have not necessarily a time skip, but at least get to I feel like it's been long enough in the point of the narrative where we can have in season 3 Anya, like we celebrate her birthday and she goes from how old she is now, 4 or something, to 5 or whatever, and she gets like a little bit more mature. She doesn't have to go undergo a whole ass adulthood arc overnight. But I feel like Anya, as she has like her own little mini arc of like, okay, maybe I should take this whole operation thing a little seriously for Papa, and try make more of an effort to becoming smarter and getting those Stellas. Just have Anya like do something like that.
See, what you're suggesting is cool AF, and seems like it would be a super fun character arc. But I don't think that can happen, just due to the nature of what Tatsuya Endo seems to want to emphasize. Because
It feels like he cares more about the comedy and then has sparse intermissions of moments like, oh yeah, I did set up a narrative. I guess I should pay some lip service to that. And
so I
have...
saw this quote from him from an interview. Sorry to cut you off, by the way. But I saw this quote of him in an interview saying that if because Spy Family is essentially engineered to be popular. That's not necessarily to say that Tatsuya Endo has no love for it. I'm sure he has.
He's a fucking hack.
But this is like a regular thing that writers have to do to make it in the industry, where if their works aren't selling well,
sometimes you gotta
they
appeal
need
to
a
the
guaranteed
biggest
hit.
common denominator.
Yeah, I mean, I'm facing that with my own artistic struggles, so I get where he's coming from. And he said that if he, had his way, Lloyd would be a much goofier character. And I feel like as time has gone on, now that I've seen that quote, I can't get it out of my head that Tatsuya Endo is over time emphasizing the goofy part of Lloyd's character more and more. And maybe that he doesn't have as much interest in the narrative as a whole, that he just wants to put the characters in these comedic situations.
Which sucks because he already went to such great lengths to establish their stakes in the narrative. Because we all know that Lloyd is in this because as a child, he saw the horrors of war and it scarred him for life and like destroyed his family and took it away from him. So now he fights on behalf of all like the children in the world to ensure that no other child has to go through what he does. And then he finds love in this new like fake family that he has to forge an identity of, but then falls in love with them anyway. And then they'll be, as we all know, the show's gonna end with Lloyd marrying Yor. Anya will become their 100% for real daughter, and they'll live happily ever after. Probably whether they know each other's identities or not by the end is up in the air. I would be satisfying if they did, but
I don't think they can end it without them revealing their identities to each other, because the entire show is about the fact that all people within a family, within society as a whole, even if you want to extrapolate it, hide secrets from each other. And in that sense, we're all going undercover. And that, to get closer to people, maybe you should, maybe not necessarily your deepest, darkest secrets all the time, but maybe you don't have to be so hidden about everything from the people you see on a day-to-day basis, that maybe you can learn to trust them, to still respect you, even if you do have skeletons in the closet.
Even if you
unless
are
it's like
crazy ass
horrifying
murderer.
Yeah. With that aside, although to be fair, Yor totally fits that bill.
Yeah, see, at least with Lloyd, you can make the excuse of, oh, he's like a soldier for his country, and he's it looks like he's trying not to kill people when he can, but he probably has killed people before. In fact, he might have even killed people on camera, on screen, and I'm maybe just forgetting it. But there is no doubt, working as a secret agent with lives constantly on the line, he's had to have taken at least a couple lives in his line of work. Meanwhile, Yor, though, she not only kills just because she's told to, and whether or not she believes in the cause is irrelevant. She has been shown to get off sometimes to the idea of murder, or is at the least is romanticizing the idea of dismembering or killing someone, which is actual psychopath behavior.
I actually wanted to talk about this specifically on the podcast because this has been in the back of our heads the entire show, whether we realized it or not. But this arc in this season is really when it came to the forefront of my mind. Yor isn't a good person. Like far from it.
I was really hoping that by the end of this arc, she would like make a giant step forward to being like, I've been following this assassination job this whole time that I've forgotten why I've done it, and now that I've, Yuri's he can take care of himself. He has a proper job now. I make enough money at my fake job at the office to no longer justify doing all of this assassination work for money. I have a family to go home to and who will be worried about me if I don't come back alive. Why am I assassinating still? But by the end of it, she realizes that she's battling in her head, like, why am I still an assassin? Like, is this even worth doing anymore? And the conclusion that she comes to, I understand it, but at the same time, it makes sense in the context of the narrative. However, I am vastly sad that this is the direction that they took it with. She has become somewhat of a righteous soldier, not for her country, but for her family, and similar to Lloyd, families everywhere, where she is a member of the Garden, who are assassins for the country of Astania, where she resides in, and she's made it her new goal to be like, okay, I no longer need to fight to ensure my family's happiness, but to maintain it, so that way, I can eliminate bad people from the world, and make sure that, and reduce the threat of, the threat to the peace by even one person who would dare do it harm. That's okay, that's good enough for me. And it's like, I guess that works, but, in order for that to continue to work, you have to convert Yor's character from one who enjoys the slaughter, the act of slaughter, into one who is, more righteous about it. She has to become, you would dare to, hurt my family, or, to kill these innocent people, or, disrupt this family, I'll kill you.
I don't necessarily agree with you. So, the thing with Yor's decision here is that she's very clearly making the wrong one, and I thought that was fairly evident within the context
I
of
wanted
the
her to
narrative.
try to leave. I wanted them to set up a, hey, I don't want to be an assassin anymore, the Garden. Can I leave the Garden? And then the Garden would be like, oh, we would, but you're actually, the perfect, super assassin, so yeah, we're gonna do this until you are literally, you're old, and either you get too old to do it, or you just fucking die, so, tough luck.
Well, see, it wouldn't even be that, because what I'm imagining in my head is that the Garden probably has this unspoken rule that you either work for the Garden until you die, or you leave and then get assassinated by other members of the Garden. Because what the context of the Garden is, and granted, there's no basis I'm saying this off of, except for me speculating based off of what the narrative has presented. The Garden is this highly secretive assassin organization. They work for the government, essentially. They're a separate organization, but they do the government's dirty work. They assassinate people and kill them without trial, which is bad for multiple reasons. Just inherently the idea of execution without trial.
Yeah, who's to say all the people they assassinate are truly evil, or they're just doing it to
I
be
don't think they
hey,
are.
fuck the West, we're racist towards Westalis. Let's just kill Westalis, kill Westalis, people, and,
well,
just
even more than
assert
that,
our Ostanian superiority.
Well, even more than killing Westalis people, I think, because the government is said to be authoritarian, right? So even though she is part of the Garden, because most of the people in the government don't know that, and probably don't even know that Garden exists, Yuri doesn't know they exist, presumably. And so she herself is afraid of being captured by the government on suspicions of being a traitor or a spy. And so she needs to get in a relationship so that she doesn't look suspicious, because most of the government doesn't know that she's kind of on their side-ish by proxy of being part of the garden. And so we know that they execute people without trial on suspicion of being a spy. That we know that they're invasive and invade people's privacy. We know that they arrest people for spreading misinformation about the government, which, sure, in that case, he was literally spreading misinformation about the government, and we'll get to it. But I imagine that the government, in preserving its own interests, probably does not have as good of a case all the time, especially considering that Yor's afraid for just not having a husband. Like, that's suspicious. So we clearly know that the government and its ideals are not to be trusted. It's not righteous. It's not good. And the garden carries out their will. Yor, just based off of that knowledge, Yor has absolutely killed people who are innocent and who haven't done anything wrong. I'm going to go out on a limb that even though we know she's only, like, from what we've seen on screen, she's only killed people who look like criminals or who are also assassins, which killing the criminals without a trial is already enough to make what she's doing highly unethical. But even putting that aside, we know based off of context
the
clues.
excuse in universe that like any assassin who takes up the profession of pointing a blade at someone has no right to complain of having a blade pointed at them. So, we at least for that point we can argue ethics all day long, but it wouldn't killing assassins killing other assassins is
I think assassins killing
okay.
other assassins is probably fine, considering that she didn't, like, in this particular instance, they started it. She didn't want to kill anyone. She just
her
wanted
job
to
was just to be
peacefully...
a bodyguard to ensure two people didn't get killed.
Yeah, so in that case, that specific instance, yeah, I defend the morality of that, just because Yor wasn't the one to start that. But in other cases, yeah, she's the one being told to execute without trial. Sure, they're probably guilty, but does all of that necessarily deserve the death penalty? Well, according to my personal code of ethics, no, never, death penalty bad. And according to most people's ethics, no, killing without trial is bad. So there you go. Yor, by most people's account, would not be a good person, no matter what way you slice it. Heh, slice it. Get it? And
like what she did to all those people in this fun slice of life, where one of the main characters
slice
is a
of life. There we go. Oh god, that's a great pun. And so, yeah, Yor is a bad person. And so I think the idea of her, basically what she says at the end of this arc, is that she isn't righteous. Right before this arc, we get this moment of Yuri arresting this person who's spreading misinformation about the government. And he's shown to be a scumbag, yes, but a sympathetic scumbag, where he's in a financially unstable situation.
Yeah, he lost his mom to illness. He's just trying to make enough money to keep his dad and himself alive, afloat.
And his misinformation is going up against this authoritarian regime. And we get this moment where he's saying, who's really the, scumbag? I forget the exact wording he uses, but is it me,
I think
the
the
person
wording
who
he
went
uses, 'cause
against
it's one
the
of the
government?
best lines in the show is me who spread lies about the government, and you, the government's dog. Like, which one of us is
No,
the
I think it was
one?
me who went against the government and something to that effect, emphasizing that he is the one righteously going up against it. That he sees himself, even though his tactics, you can argue, are unethical. I'd argue they would. Lying is bad.
Well, yeah, because what he's doing is that in order to make enough money, he is exposing. Well, not even necessarily exposing. He's would
making
set up
shit
shots.
up.
Yeah, he threw some kid's toy gun into the trash, and then secretly took pictures of the kids rifling through the trash to make his own country seem to be this like piece of shit poor country to sell to the other country of Westalis as like propaganda, so that way he could make some money off it anonymously. So it's not that he truly thinks that his government is a shithole. He just does it because, well, this will make me money and it'll keep me alive, and I don't really care about the image of my country.
He also does think the government is a shithole. Not necessarily a financially destitute one where everyone is living on scraps, but he knows, I mean, everyone sort of knows that there's a secret police that executes people, and everyone's on their best behavior because of that. And he clearly knows about that, and he clearly has a stance against the government. And so it's portrayed as this conflict where, although this person isn't righteous and is clearly going about it the wrong way, Yuri is not any better, and by the end of the chapter, although I didn't necessarily love what the guy was doing, I definitely felt more swayed towards his side than Yuri's, because Yuri is, as he puts it, the government's dog. He just does their bidding, and he fully believes what they're doing. He thinks that anyone who, talks smack about the government is a traitor to the country. Anyone who's like that should die, should just disappear, get arrested, whatever needs to be done. Yuri isn't a good person either. Both Briars, and I guess yours now a forger, both of them are kind of just bad people, if you really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that Lloyd is a bad person because he is lying to, well, he doesn't know that Anya can read his mind, but he's lying to this child that, oh yeah, I'm gonna be your father for life, for sure, and I'm totally not just gonna abandon you as soon as this mission's over. Like, he only chose her out of convenience because he thought it would be, she was the smartest kid at the orphanage and would be most likely to succeed, get into the good school and succeed to talk to Donovan Desmond. In doing so, yeah, and also lying to Yor, because like, hey, yes, I totally love you, woman, and I know, and we're definitely not having a marriage of convenience to, avoid the pursuit of the government.
I mean, first of all, we already know he doesn't feel like that anymore. I think at this point he'd never abandon Anya. But there is a case to be made that at the beginning, I'd say doing that to Anya is unethical and bad, and you shouldn't do it because you're re-traumatizing her essentially. With Yor, at the very least, she's in the know that it's supposed to be a marriage of convenience. At the beginning, at this point, neither of them would leave each other. They're both in love at this point. It's for certain.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, while you could make a case that Lloyd is as much of a liar as they are, at the very least, he has the defense of we've seen him act a lot more altruistically and non-violently than Yor or Yuri.
Yeah, and I guess I guess you could pose that as a flaw with the show in a way. Because I think it's, personally, extremely interesting to think about the fact that Yor and Yuri are bad people. And but it feels almost a little irrelevant to what the rest of the show has been up to that point. Because Lloyd, for all we know, is righteous, like you said. He's anti-war, he doesn't even necessarily, obviously he's part of Westalis and their spy team, but he isn't like nationalistically, head over heels in love with the way they run the government. An Ostanian,
and he has never once shown any kind of disdain for Ostanian people, because he sees the kids there, and he sees like, yeah, there are kids in Ostania who probably like don't want to, he doesn't want them to go through the same horrible tragedy and horrors of war that he did.
So what you're saying is that he's a filthy centrist.
Yes, he's the ultimate he's a radical centrist, does a kickflip off of the half pipe.
Radical centrist. Yeah, and so in that sense, the cast does feel a little imbalanced in a subtle way, where Yor has this whole conflict of whether or not she's even a good person, and Yuri does too. But that isn't really the same with the other characters to nearly the same extent. But at the same time, it deeply interests me because what I think that Yuri chapter being placed like only a couple episodes before Yor has her assassin stuff, I think that is intentional. I, even if he wasn't necessarily, and I'm talking he isn't the author, even if he didn't necessarily have that in mind when making that specific chapter, I'm sure that having that conflict be presented was what eventually came to spark the Your Assassin arc, where she comes to what I think is supposed to be the wrong conclusion. That she is staying the government's dog, that she's going to continue assassinating on their behalf, and continue doing that. And sure, her motives are to protect her family, and so in that sense, it is a step in the right direction. But at the same time, she is still doing it in the wrong way, in the bad way. And I'm sure at some point, because this is, I think, being foreshadowed by the narrative, she's gonna try to leave Garden. They're not going to let her because she knows too much. She knows of the existence of Garden. That in and of itself means that she probably can't leave it. She's gonna have to fight tooth and nail to get out of it. That's probably gonna be when her secret is revealed to Lloyd. It's gonna be like, hey, I did the bad thing, but I'm no longer doing the bad thing. Hopefully I can be forgiven someday. I can atone for my sins. Maybe not exactly like that. That's just how I'd write it.
I feel like the way I hear the cat in the background too. I feel like
she has been meowing half this podcast. I'm not letting her back in.
She must suffer. I feel like what the narrative is inevitably building to is that Lloyd, the Westalis spy, is going to go on a mission that directly conflicts with one of yours, Austanian, the Garden missions, and they're gonna cross paths as undercover. And then, like, they're gonna have the big fight, because we've already had it teased in season 1 when Yor drunkenly got into a little sparring match with Lloyd, and Lloyd is able to keep up with her, but is definitely, like, she has posed the biggest threat to him throughout the entirety of the show.
I mean, she has gorilla strength, so it'd be hard for anyone to go up against her.
Yeah, I love how it's still shown out throughout the series, like how she'll get hit by a car, and the worst she'll get is a nosebleed. And even when she was fighting all those other assassins, she got fucking her clock cleaned by the hilt of a sword, and like you could hear like bones shattering, and she suffered all these different impacts, and she was still able to fight through all of that.
Yeah, like her gorilla strength isn't just a gag for the comedy scenes. It's a consistent part of her character. Yeah, it is canon. And it also works with the Garden, because the Garden members are said to be able to take down like entire armies of men. Each individual member is that strong. No, they're crazy. And Yor is in fact crazy strong, where even though she does have a lot of challenges posed to her throughout the course of the arc, there's that one scene of her taking down all the fucking terrible assassins who can't even put a scratch on her, and then she's going up against the one guy with the sword, and that's the only guy who can really pose a threat to her. And even then, it was only because she was trying to keep up her appearances and not get too injured in the fight, not take too many risks in order to present this outward appearance to her family. But as soon as she learns, as soon as she has it in her head, hey, I can get hurt, it's for the sake of protecting my family, she gains that strength. She can grab the sword and tear it in half with her bare hands.
Yeah, the one that Anya gave to her, making her complicit in at least 3 murders.
That I have that in my notes. Anya has canonically killed people now, and I think that's amazing.
Indirectly, but she does have if those 2 guys with the guns who fell over are in fact dead, then Anya has at the very least has 3 assists in kills.
Yeah, listen, all I'm saying is Anya, cold, cruel. She saw that Yor had to kill people. She aided in that murder. She was down for that. Granted,
I mean,
she's a
fan
child.
art-
She can't really be held responsible. But
I
I'm
do find it
saying is-
fascinating. I do find it fascinating that every piece of grown-up Anya fan art that I've ever seen models her more to be like Yor rather than Lloyd.
True, she has it in her. I haven't actually seen much adult Anya fan art actually, but I don't know. It seems like a fun thing to draw.
Yeah, they all model her after. She has Yor's. She still has the little things in her hair, but she wears Yor's earrings, and I forget she has something of Lloyd's that makes her look like Lloyd, but I forget what she wears of his. I think maybe his watch or something. I don't know. Speaking of Anya, I wanted to bring up this point because I saw it in the best guy ever video that
I knew this was coming because you told me about
that got
it.
me thinking about the topic. Is Yor's constant murdering a problem in this slice of life show where most of the time we're being all cutesy, inviting our friends over, playing games of Old Maid over macaroons, and going wow, waku waku over some fireworks, to juxtaposing that to Yor brutally and violently killing people in sometimes some pretty horrific ways.
Yeah, especially in this arc where it's easily the darkest the show has been. Although what I would say is that the show has always had this tinge, maybe not as gory as it is in this arc all the time. But
I liked it when it had like the tinge of darkness and fucked up sensibilities. But I liked it when it was all kept to the background, like Yor's introduction to assassination, where we see her like bloodied weapon and being like, sorry, but could you please die? And then all the assassination stuff happens off screen, and then we see her washing the blood off. Like that's like the perfect amount of fucked up shit happening to without like getting in the way of the fun slice of life cute shit. Meanwhile, though, in this arc, she's just straight up jamming her thorn things through people's skulls and like leaving bloody holes in their heads. Like at one point, I think her first kill of this arc is she threw her needle through the peephole of the door and just fucking embedded a dude into the wall from their head in the brain with her needle.
I actually loved that moment because it's like yet another display of her gorilla strength, but this time it's kind of funny because instead of it just being a tiny peephole, it's a giant hole in the door that she has just carved out with her little stabby knife thing. I thought that was amusing. But
I thought it was amusing too.
So you're on Best Guy Ever's side with this specific critique and that you think it's a little too dark for this show.
I feel like they got a little carried away in this arc. In order for her to be an assassin, she has to kill people, otherwise, what's the point? But I feel like they did take it a step too far with how brutal they made some of the kills.
So I'm gonna go out here and say I don't feel that way at all. I understand why someone would. I don't think it's an invalid point, but something I guess that I've thought about over the years, but that is re-entering my mind now with this discussion, is that I don't think I'm necessarily as... Okay, so fluffy Iyashike shows, they don't really get me. And this has been a continual theme in my channel, or even just
we
in
all
my
know you're a
ordinary...
legendary Eurocamp hater for no good reason because you just hate being happy.
Yes, I hate happiness. I hate smiling. I mean,
puppies,
I didn't like
hate
it.
kittens. I only keep the one kitten around so I can like grab her by the scruff of her neck and swing her around really fast and chuck her at a wall until she
This is all canon.
against it and peels down like Tom from Tom and Jerry until she becomes a table.
Okay, maybe not that far. PETA, don't go after me. But Yeah, I don't like do it yourself, and I think a lot of those shows are hinging more on the Iyashike bubbly vibe, where when I watch a show, I'm more so mesmerized by just the plot, the characters, the intrigue of it. I don't really feel like when I watch K-On, I'm not going, oh, this is so uwu wholesome. I'm thinking I like the characters and I like what it's doing. I still haven't watched season 2 of K-On, by the way. That's an actual sin. But I don't watch K-On for the wholesome vibes, which I know is practically illegal for a K-On fan because the number one defense that the fans of K-On make for that show is it's so wholesome. But nah, I don't really like that part of it. It's not that I dislike it. It's not that it's getting in the way of my enjoyment of K-On! It's just not why I watch the show. And so when I see Spy Family, when I'm watching the wholesome slice of life scenes, what I'm thinking is, this is funny, I like the characters, I am enjoying this. And so when I'm seeing brutal Yor murder scenes, I'm not thinking, my wholesome slice of life has been interrupted, you've ruined the vibes. I'm thinking, I never had the vibes to begin with. I just like fun things. And this is fun in its own way.
I feel like the biggest problem with it in this arc for me was that little montage during the fireworks where we're straight up intercutting between Anya on Lloyd's shoulders being like, wow, bravo, look at the pretty fireworks, to Yor just straight up fucking icing people, jamming her needles through their heads.
I liked that montage.
Well, I like everything that like I didn't know what the tone was supposed to be because
it's supposed to be yours contrasting the darkness with the cuteness.
Yeah, but it's like yours kill. Yeah, but it's like it's like wildly all over the place. Like yours violently killing people, juxtaposed with Anya being cute, Anya forged in steel, being cute, enjoying the fireworks. There's peaceful, like, melodic singing over it, and the old man director assassin guy is goofily cleaning up after the kills with a broom. So I like, am I supposed to find this silly? I mean, like, it's too violent for me to think that it's like all silly, and it's too it's should I find it cute because Anya's like being cute and the old man is goofily cleaning up the blood and whatnot? It's hard to like find it funny when yours doing all these cool action things.
Well, to me, the montage, I mean, obviously to contrast the cuteness and the darkness, but with the more goofy bits, it's like to Yor and the director, this is every day for them. It's basically saying that this is Anya's daily life, just having fun with her dad, even if the cruise isn't necessarily always there. Nonetheless, it's an ordinary scene from their life in a way, versus Yor with the ordinariness of the dark assassin underworld, and having to fight other assassins and all that stuff.
I would not have intercut Anya in that montage. I would have kept her out of it, because it just kind of puts in the back of my mind that, what if, like, how, like, fucked up would it be if Anya straight up saw Yor kill someone as violently as she has done to these people? If Anya saw this, she'd be traumatized for life.
I mean, to be fair, she's already traumatized for life, has been kidnapped before. Episode 1, instant trauma. But
oh yeah, I forgot she has straight up seen someone get shot point blank in the face before. So maybe
it's a little too late for her.
Yeah, so maybe at least at the very least you can make the case of it was a criminal doing that to another criminal, whereas this is her mom, which she knows that she fights bad guys, but I wonder how much of a different tune she'd be singing if she just actually with her own eyes saw her mom, throw the needle through the guy's head, or take a guy by the head and like jam it in their neck, jam it in their head.
See, what you're describing is what I think part of the point is, and you don't have to necessarily like that point. Maybe that's too dark for this show for you, but for me, I just don't care. It doesn't affect my enjoyment at all. Because to me,
I like Spy that Families... we can go from, one episode we're doing all this like deep in the trenches assassin shit, and then next arc we can see Anya in school talking about Like how there were, oh yeah, there were all these bad guys on the ship, and then the Octa people came out from the ocean because she's trying to look cool. Like that's fine, but having intercutting Anya directly into it as a like constant reminder to be like, oh yeah, if she were here, this would be like actually kind of fucked up, wouldn't it?
I mean, I can't really argue with you anymore because at the end of the day, it's just personal interpretation. I didn't mind it. That's really that's the end of the conversation, really. I have my justifications for not minding it. You have yours. I don't really know what. I mean, no one's changing each other's minds.
Yeah, I just worry that with the end of this arc now, like, what is the direction for Yor's character now that she has seemingly lost interest in leaving the assassination life?
I mean, I've already described what I, at the very least, hope it is, which is escaping, realizing she can't escape, and then having an entire arc of that.
Well, that's the thing, though. It looks like she's lost her. It looks like, at least for now, she has lost her desire to escape. So,
but that's like, for now.
Yeah, but until
the show has
something comes up.
The show has made it, like I explained, abundantly clear that she should not be doing this. That the show and its writing think,
yeah, but how much longer am I going to have to wait to see her? It already took us 2 seasons to give Yor one meaningful arc. Am I going to have to wait another 2 before we take another step forward with her character? I hope not.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree with you there, which is, yeah, the show drags its feet a lot.
I was really happy these first few episodes being like, oh shit, we're getting a Damien episode, like a whole segment to him for Bond in the first half and then Damien in the second half, because I'm invested in Damien's arc of wanting to become an Imperial Scholar, not necessarily because he wants to, but because he sees it as the only way to connect to his dad, who he never has time for. Which is like, you know, sad and tragic, but you still want to root for him anyway because you just want to see Damien like succeed. Maybe it'll make him a better person, and maybe Anya will help him get to that point. When the end of the very next episode, we get a Yuri episode, and it's like, oh wow, we're like really spreading the love equally here. Obviously, Lloyd, Anya, and Yor are always going to be the main attraction, but we're not neglecting to feed the other kids, you know. Damien, Yuri, Fiona only got half an episode, but you know what? You win some, you lose some. But I hope that the show going forward is able to balance all of these plates, spinning all these plates long term, because I feel like that's when Spy Family's at its best, when we're dealing with all these different arcs that we've set up, all these little plot lines, and we're given proper attention to each one.
Well, see, I don't necessarily mind if a character gets shortchanged for a 12-episode season. What I think the ideal sort of form this show could take is if we have some slice of life, which is bouncing between characters, hopefully, and then we intercut that with more extended arcs focusing on each major character in turn. Like, I want Nightfall to have another arc, because she's a fun character. I like her. She didn't get much in this season.
She's the hottest character in the show.
Yes, objectively. That we can agree on at the very least. Except for maybe Yor with her hair down. If she wore her hair down more often,
except for maybe Yor with short hair.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, short. I did write in my notes, short-haired Yor, parentheses, this cripples the bagel.
It kills me inside every time. But, yeah, I mean, if Yor wore her hair
Fiona
down...
has short hair.
She doesn't have that short of hair.
It's not Lois Lane, My Adventures of Superman short, but it was about as short as that shot of Yor cutting it.
Well, see, more important than the short hair to me is that Fiona just has a cool vibe to her. I like how she's always deadpan, but then inside it's more like her personality is complementing her.
She yearns to be the perfect domestic housewife.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it like that, but sure.
What do you mean?
That is one way to phrase it.
What do you mean you wouldn't necessarily? She would admit that herself.
She would in fact admit that herself. You are right in that.
And seeing her skip when she was while maintaining her deadpan face.
She
down
stops
the hall when she was
skipping when
given-
there's people in the hall to see her,
And then when they leave,
starts
just
skipping.
continues skipping.
Yeah,
She the best character behind Damien.
that's why we love Nightfall. And yeah, I hope she gets another arc. I want more Yor stuff. I just want progress with each character. Whenever a character gets an extended arc, I think we should have something to develop them or progress them. This arc with Yor, I think is perfectly fine in its current state. I think we've set up a way in which she is wrong and a way in which she can be disproven and shown to, have her come into Jesus moment with her assassin work and being like, oh, I messed up. This is bad. I shouldn't be doing this.
The big question remains then, how long until we get to her learning about our Lord and Savior and then coming to Christ?
I don't mind if it's not next season. Assuming that season is 12 episodes, which it probably will be. But I don't want to go too long without it. I can handle another 12 episode stretch focusing on other characters, but within the next 24 episodes, I would want some checkup on Yor at the very least. It doesn't even have to be as extended as this arc,
because
this was 5 whole
make
episodes.
Some progress on Operation Strix. Here's a way to kill two birds with one stone. Have Yor directly help Anya with a task that will get her a Stella.
That would be based as hell. Just please, from here on out, Anya, or not Anya every 12 episodes, Stella every 12 episodes. Just do that. We'll be on pace for a good, satisfying meal. And have, Lloyd Strix stuff, have Yor assassin stuff, have Nightfall join Lloyd on his next mission. There we go. Find some way to get her more narratively relevant than she currently is.
I am eagerly awaiting an episode where both Yuri and Fiona come over one day and then they interact.
That would actually be really cool. I also what would be so cute is if Fiona ended up being granted it's kind of fucked up in a way because Fiona has a crush on Lloyd, but almost like an aunt figure in Anya's life where she's occasionally coming over to help around, maybe have some cute interactions with Anya. That would be fun, even though once again it's kind of messed up if you think about it, because
I feel like if I'm putting myself yeah, she's trying to home wreck her mom. If I'm putting myself in Mr. Tatsuya Endo's shoes, if he were to put Fiona and Yuri together, they're gonna both find out that Yuri's gonna find out that Fiona wants Lloyd all to herself, and Fiona's gonna find out that Yuri wants Yor all to himself, and they're just gonna work together to be the tag team homewreckers.
That would be funny. I would once again messed up if you think about it, but it's funny, so it's okay.
Yeah, but and then in a turn of brilliance, they're gonna end up falling in love with each other. At least that's if Tatsuya Endo's not a hack, they're gonna get together.
That is the ideal end scenario of that. God, that would be such a funny running gag. Now that you've described this, I need it in my life.
Yeah, Yuri will cure Fiona's puppy love of Lloyd, of a man who, she has unrequited love for a man who will never truly love her back the way that she does, and Fiona will cure Yuri of his incest habits.
So I think we've hit the major broad strokes of the assassin arc and its place in the show. We didn't talk about the specific events as much, but I think that's okay because we're already running up nearly at an hour recording.
Yeah, I feel like we could just spend the last 5 minutes of this just going over any individual moments throughout the rest of the season that stood out to us. How do you like the new OP?
I'm so glad you reminded me of that because I really wanted to talk about it. The new OP is so good. Not necessarily the song, which is what unfortunately puts it under the first OP still, because the first OP had great visuals and a great song. But there's so much soul. What do you say?
What about the second one?
The second one is kind of take it or leave it for me. Song is not that great to me. Visuals are well animated and good still. It's not a bad OP, but it's the most bland of them all to me. Just doesn't stick out in my memory. Whereas this OP, I knew I was in for a treat when one of the first opening shots is Yor stepping towards the camera with her feet getting super big as they approach the camera, then going back, then Lloyd joins goofy, in.
Like Disney Mickey Mouse walk.
It's so good. And then at the end, it's the same thing, except they're drinking tea, and they've spent like half the OP trying to get tea. Where they're trying to pour it correctly. And so they're in the car and is, fucking swooshing around, and then they're driving off crazy. They're on a plane, and Lloyd tries to pour it. It gets carried by the wind, but Yor catches it just in time and starts sipping. They're falling down. He does the same thing. Yor catches it. It's so good. There's so much soul.
I would say it's my least
so
favorite.
Much.
I love it. I love everything that goes on the OP too. I would say it's my least favorite song-wise, but as far as visuals go, it's second place, just behind the first one and above the second one.
Yeah, I think it's about on par with the second song-wise, but it massively overtakes in visuals. And the thing about this OP specifically, it got me to smile and laugh like crazy while watching it the first time. And no other OP in the show did that quite to the same extent. Even though the first OP, I do still think it's better because better song, visuals are more stylized, even if they aren't necessarily as hilarious and, make me as avid to talk about them. It's still got that amazing style for the first 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, I love how in the first episode, Anya commits a felony in order to scare a thug out of giving up his life of crime.
Yeah, she makes... okay, so he wants to basically bomb Yor. She wants to make a homemade bomb and mess her up. Anya gets the instructions from his mind, which have been censored in the show. So, we know at least one...
knowing how to build a bomb in real life.
Hey, we all know someone's been reading the Anarchist's Cookbook lately. And Anya gets that information from his head and makes a bomb to blow him up, but it's a peanut bomb. And she then approaches him in this suit.
And it's like, don't ever go after the Thorn Princess again. This is your last
Give
warning.
up your life of crime. Okay, here's an offhanded criticism. Did it annoy you how often it seems to be a trend in this show for characters to just state that they are spies in vicinity of people? Sometimes, it's often Frankie. He'll often just blurt it out, or even whispering it next to people is too far to me. So in this first episode, one of my notes
get a
is
little ridiculous, especially with Frankie.
Yeah, so my issue with it is that the whole conceit of the spy thing is that they send codes constantly. They talk in codes, they send it through newspapers, they send it through all these discrete means. That entire conceit is wrecked when Frankie yells out stuff like, wait, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something about the operation. Just blurting it out to Lloyd as he walks away. And I was pissed mad because I was like, why though? Why would you do that? You're a moron.
He's making a bunch of phone calls at the same payphone to all of his different agents trying to find a cat. What got me was when he exposes his engineering genius to Yor trying to find that cat. I'm like, should you really be like revealing how much of an engineer you are? Like, even if you're lying about what it's for and you're saying, oh yeah, I like to invent stuff in my spare time. Don't you think it's like you invent very specific spy-like gadgets for for a guy who just does it in his spare time, especially to someone whose brother that someone whose brother from Lloyd is in the secret police.
I didn't think about that as the scene was going on, because I was just like, you know what, he has the cover story, sure it's a little goofy, but whatever. But now that I think about it, this government is so watchful that not having a husband at the age of however old Yor is, probably like late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around there, right? Not having a husband at that age is seen as sus. You have gadgets. You have crazy machinery.
The cat magnet.
Would they not think that is maybe just a little bit more sus than that? It's a little goofy. It's a little hard to take seriously. And like, sure, this show has goofy logic, and some of it's intentional. Because in the first episode as well, I made note of this. He has like over 800 plans for dating, for like going out on this date with Yor. 800 date plans, and she says, I don't want to, go in this fancy car because she doesn't want to sit down." He yells out, or in his head rather, that just killed 794 date plans. And sure, that's goofy. That didn't literally happen, but it's funny, and it's the kind of loosey-goosey logic that you can buy into because it's fun, because the idea of Lloyd coming up with hundreds of plans for this date, because that's just how his mind works, that's enjoyable. I like that aspect of the show. But when you're having Frank and Lloyd whisper to each other within the vicinity of Anya and Yor about just about Operation Strix or about being a spy, like, Frank's like, I'm supposed to be doing spy stuff. Why am I just being your random odd job guy? No, that's dumb. That's too dumb for me to buy into.
Yeah, it gets a little too ridiculous at points. Oh, well, how'd you feel about the reverse pedophile episode?
So the episode as a whole is actually one of my favorite slice of life scenarios in the entire show, because the joke is that Becky has a thing for Lloyd, but Lloyd obviously is not reciprocating it. But it's in this way where it's not like Nightfall, where she actually has a sliver of a chance with him if she plays her cards right. Obviously not realistically within the show, but if you were just looking at it as an outside observer, you could be like, yeah, she could maybe be a homewrecker. With Becky, it's so far-flung that it just becomes ridiculous. And also because her plans at being a homewrecker are all taken from this one soap
movie
opera she watched. Yeah. And so she's just doing that. But because she's a child, and because she doesn't understand why that worked in the movie, it becomes so dumb and goofy, where it's like she's flipping her hair around because she saw a woman do that in the movie, but it's constant, and then Anya joins in and it's just yours like, oh, maybe this is how she's showing her affection for you, and it's like, yeah, but also it's completely ridiculous.
I love how Anya is like, when she's reading Becky's mind, it's just fucking like white noise to her because she can't decipher her love-struck thoughts. That was goofy. And then how she sees all of the ways that like Becky would treat Anya as her mom, like, Becky's gonna become my mom, and then she just envisions all the benefits of that, being like, oh, I could live in a castle. I'd have world-class chefs preparing my meals all the time. We could play all day because we'll have servants doing any, like, menial tasks or labor or chores for us. And how Anya's just, like, immediately so willing to toss Yor to the streets in favor of her 5-year-old sugar mama Kilf.
That was hilarious to me. The entire episode is one of the funniest of the season to me. I loved every minute of it. It was just
I was
treat.
dying at the just look at his big, beautiful round eyes. He's absolutely in love with her.
I screenshotted that, and I sent that. I sent that to a bunch of servers because it's just so funny. Because these tiny, just
like Saitama looking ass eyes.
Yeah, because she's so shocked at Yor's gorilla strength because she broke the strength meter. Dude, even I just love the entire setup to that strength meter bit too, where Becky's probably made this guy for the like probably
His
just
life.
given him a month's worth of finances right there for one try at it, and then Yor immediately breaks it. But it's like he probably has more than enough in the stack Becky just gave him to cover that
It like 5 times
a dozen
over.
times. Yeah.
And then it ends with Yor agreeing to train Becky to become strong because Lloyd clearly values strong women, so she'll become as strong as Yor, and maybe Becky will be the one to become the new Yor Briar, gorilla strength assassin.
That would be hilarious. I hope Becky is so committed to this because she concedes defeat at the end of this episode. She's like, You're the one. Currently, I am no match for you. I need to become strong. I need to be as gorilla strong as you. And so I hope at some point she gets so strong that she thinks she can take Yor on in the battle for Lloyd's heart again, only to fail just as spectacularly. But now she's also gorilla strong, so it's even funnier.
Yeah, and with that, I think that'll wrap up talking about Spy Family Season 2. We kind of already talked about what we would want to see in a third season, so I guess there's no reason to drag out the outro for any longer.
I guess the only thing left is our number scores. I think we already know what each other gave it.
Yeah, what did you give it?
A 9.
I'm bouncing back and forth between a 7 and an 8. Because I gave season 1, I gave both cores an 8 and averaged out to an 8 overall. The only reason I'm not like confident about giving it an 8 is because we didn't make any progress on the actual narrative, and I wasn't super satisfied with the direction that Yor's arc is going in.
I'm satisfied with Yor's arc for the time, so long as in the future it takes the correct steps, which I think it's aware of what those steps are, at least I hope. But if it doesn't end up, the prerequisite for this 9 is she must eventually leave the organization and then not be able to, because that's just too much of a Chekhov's gun not to fire. If that doesn't fire, if it becomes something else super lame, yeah, this season will in retrospect take a hit.
I think I'll be generous and I'll give it the same 8 that I gave the other ones, with the asterisk that it is the weakest of the 3 parts of Spy Family that are currently out. I hope that season 3 gets us back on mission and we make some forward steps in the future, because I can't hold out my generosity forever if we're gonna make so little progress every season. I fear the show might run the risk of just becoming like just like a fun slice of life that I can turn, like, just maybe not 100% turn my brain off, but I won't have to get as invested in as I have been, because it kind of felt like at points that Endo would have much rather preferred making this like a 4-coma comedy as opposed to a story with a narrative in it that is also a comedy. Because, like, I could definitely see moments in the show. It's like, oh yeah, this were a 4-coma. This would be the I can see the joke set up and the DNA like right here.
Yeah, and I hope it doesn't become that, which it has continually threatened to. Like, I still think the first core of season 1 is the strongest, but at the same time, I've had to admit to myself that the setup of Spy Family, and even just the act of watching these slice of life segments will probably be entertaining to me for as long as the show continues. Like, there's just
this whole
something
season
about
did
the
not
way
have this whole season did not have a moment that even came close to rivaling Anya crying during that interview and Lloyd about to punch the dude in the face for it and breaking the table instead, and then the brilliant follow-up of the headmaster Hendrickson punching the dude instead.
Yeah, like, season 1 felt like what the show should have been in the end. Like, it felt like it was building up to something much more satisfying, but instead, it's a bit more sparse. And while I like this season a lot, and think it's the second strongest out of all the cores we've gotten so far, as opposed to you thinking it's the weakest, just because I like the Your Assassin stuff way more, and even thought that the slice of life scenarios it included were generally more more appealing to me personally than the ones in core 2 of season 1.
They're fun.
Still,
the Spy X Family experience is overall a positive one. It's fun to just see these characters. It's fun to watch Anya Forged in Steel being cute and just seeing all the wacky antics the cast get up to. I just hope that my investment in the narrative is not going to get shortchanged.
I think my investment in the narrative has already been a little shortchanged since season 1, core 1. But that it can always get back on track. And by the way, watching this season actually got me the urge to rewatch season 1. So I might, at the very least, core 1 of season 1, I'm probably going to rewatch after Excel Saga, because that shit's fun.
You
as
heard
hell.
it here first, folks. Get ready for the Spy X Family video on Crunchy's channel.
That is never happening. Something convenient about being able to watch Spy X Family is that I know there's nothing I could offer the discussion outside of probably the stuff about Yor's morality. I don't think most people think about the show in that way necessarily.
But you can make them think that way.
I can make them think that way, but it'll probably be better suited for a second channel rant. Or at the very most a sub 10-minute video on my channel. If I were to do a video on Spy Family, it would be that, but only like an 8-minute video at most. Something like that. But yeah, overall I don't have much to contribute to the conversation. I like it mostly for the reasons that everyone else likes it, and I hope it gets back on the straight and narrow and becomes something Kino again.
Yeah, and hopefully that movie that's coming out later this year for us is going to be a lot of fun. And if you want to see us talk about that, viewers, then go ahead and like the video. Head on down to the comments and give us your thoughts on Spy Family Season 2. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode.
And with that, I'm starting to start the outros continually. I guess I'm Crunchy Bagels.
Plug?
Not really. I guess subscribe to my channel. That's about it.
Subscribe to our side channels, because we both put out update videos about how we want to do more exciting things with both of them. So if you want to hear more of our voices on a more constant basis, then subscribe to A Bagel for the Road and Neon's Dwelling.
Yeah, I upload there every other day. I'm probably going to do a rant on Spy Family, just to regurgitate my points about Yor's morality that I said here onto there, just maybe in a more condensed format, and maybe a main channel video. It's highly doubtful, extremely doubtful.
And with that, that'll do her for this episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.